All right, we are recording. I am here with Marshall Pearson, who is an estate attorney out of Exton Law. Marshall, thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I wanted to do a recorded interview here just so that if any of you aren't aware of the work that he does, you can hear a little bit more about it, his story, and then, of course, if there's some way that maybe he can help you and your family, you can reach him. So can you start by just telling us about you and the work that you do and how you kind of like got involved in it?
I certainly can. Thanks for having me.
Sure.
My name is Marshall Pearson. I am a lawyer. My office is in Exton. I graduated from law school many moons ago and lived in the South, moved to this area for a job. And when that job changed, I started practicing law in the area. And that was by kind of some good fortune. I ran into Stan Lieberman, who is a lawyer and had practiced in the Westchester Exton area for 40 plus years and was starting to think about retiring. And he wanted to not just retire and leave a client list that was no longer served. He wanted someone who he could bring in and work with and feel comfortable turning those clients over to. So I worked with Stan for about 3 years, and then he fully retired. His practice was wills and estates as well. So I learned from him because it is one of those things that you can study, I think, most areas of law in law school, but until you practice and know, here's what you file, here's where you file it, here's the nuances, you really need to know those before you can really practice effectively. So I worked with Stan, and then he retired, and so now I obviously handle the clients that he had, and then the new clients that I've gotten through word of mouth and other ways.
Awesome.
And yeah.
So the majority of the work that you do right now is with families. Can you kind of describe like who your clients are and how you serve them most of the time?
Yes. And I kind of feel like I have two kind of very different targets. I have young families who have children who someone, either they realize it or someone, usually a parent, a grandparent, insists that they start planning for what if you and your spouse are not around. What if something happens to the two of you? We need to have things in place for the children, a trust, a guardian appointed, things like that. So I deal with young families that are planning, do that estate planning in mind that they have minor children. And then on the other end, I deal with a lot of people who are retired and realize, okay, we've never done this. We never wrote a will. We never prepared a power of attorney or a healthcare power of attorney or advanced declaration, and they realize it's time to do that. And so I work with them to discuss what's your situation, what documents do you need. Sometimes people come to me and they did a will 20 years ago, but they've never done a power of attorney. I'll review the will, and if it's still appropriate, we leave it in place, but we may do a power of attorney or a healthcare document. And I would say it's interesting. The power of attorney is a document that is so important as people age, because it allows someone, the agent, to act on behalf of the principal. So if there is a situation where the principal has dementia and they have a power of attorney in place, it allows kind of a seamless, at least from a financial perspective, a seamless transition to that agent. Where I run into real serious issues is if someone has not prepared a power of attorney and then is no longer competent to do so. And in that case, you get into guardianship, and that's a much more involved process. Right. So my ideal client are people that come in looking forward and want to make sure that they don't run into any of those issues, and we take care of all of that. Right. And then as those things, if they occur, the documents are there.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I know your offices are out of like the Exton area. How has everything changed for you now that we can't do so much in person with COVID? How's it looking now?
I've learned what Zoom is.
You're good at it.
I didn't know before. I'm doing quite a bit of work. I'm not the most tech savvy, but I'm doing quite a bit of work through emails, telephone, sending drafts of documents to people via email, then discussing with that over the phone to avoid having to sit down and spend a lengthy period of time with the client, because my attitude is we'll spend as much time as you need discussing the documents. I don't get paid by the hour for you to go over your documents and make sure you understand them. So we're doing a lot of that type of, that's what I'm doing a lot of. And then when we do sign the document in Pennsylvania for a will to be self-proving, it has to be witnessed by 2 witnesses, signed obviously by the person making the will, and you have to have a notary. So that's 4 people that have to be involved. So what I've been doing is trying to limit the amount of time people are together, obviously masking up, staying as far apart as we can, to get those documents signed and notarized, because I do feel if ever there was a situation where you want to make sure your will and your other documents are in place, the pandemic has certainly stressed that. So I'm doing that and spending, like I said, as little amount of time face-to-face as possible to get those documents signed.
Yeah, it's great that you can do so much remotely and still provide high quality service and stuff. Is there anything about the work that you do that people maybe like don't understand, or something that you feel like you're constantly clarifying for people? What's a misconception about it?
I often have people that have put off coming in to discuss a will because they envision that they're going to have to prepare some packet of information that includes every account number, every balance, every, the IRA they had when they worked for 3 years somewhere that's been sitting, that I'm going to need a balance and the account number and all that. Well, that's not the case. I'm not doing an analysis like a financial analyst or a financial advisor. I'm not looking at your assets and want to know every single one and how much the balance is and what the account number. What I really need is an overview of your assets and how they're titled. Are they joint? Are they individually owned? And if they have a beneficiary designation. Those are the main things. And so the detailed information is not what quite a few people think. I mean, they think I'm going to need their children's social security number often.
Yeah.
And I tell them, no, I'm not putting social security numbers in your will. Your children are pretty easily identifiable.
Yeah.
So we don't need all that. So I would say people think the prep work is going to be a lot more involved than it generally is.
Right.
And if you come to the meeting and there's something that I need that you don't have, then I say, well, let's, go pull that together and give me a call and I'll incorporate it into the.
Right. Okay. I think that's really good to know, because I think I can see that would be a barrier for a lot of people that maybe want to do it but haven't taken that step, is because they think it's going to be a whole lot of compiling and searching.
And I see some lawyers send a packet for the client to fill out before, and I've looked at some of them, and the amount of information needed that often doesn't even make its way into the documents, to me seems a bit too extensive.
Yeah. That's really good to know. So if somebody is starting to think that maybe they need your service, or they want to start like taking those next steps, what's a piece of advice that you would give to people, either specifically now during everything that's going on or just in general?
What I tell people is call, make an appointment, so you have a date that you can't put it off anymore.
Yeah.
And let's just sit down. And I mean, and what I tell people is, if we sit down and we discuss the documents and the people say, I don't want to do that, or I need to think about it some, then that's fine. You go your way and I go mine. But at least take that first step to discuss the types of documents. And then if you're comfortable drafting a will, but you're really not ready for the healthcare power of attorney and advance directive, we won't do one. And I have people come in, and the idea of sitting and discussing end-of-life decisions regarding healthcare, if they're in a permanent vegetative state, they're just not ready to do that.
Yeah.
And so we don't do the document, but that doesn't mean they don't have a will or a durable power of attorney. They're comfortable doing those.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather someone leave with the documents that they need. And if they're not comfortable, then we don't do the document.
Yeah, better to have something than nothing, right?
Absolutely. And I just feel like that's probably I have people that I used to have an ad in the local paper, and I have people that have come in with that ad that has been on their refrigerator for 3 or 4 years with them saying, I need to do that, and they finally call.
Thank goodness you have the same number. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And I say, well, you didn't wait too long. Obviously, you're here. So
yeah.
But that, I would say, just call.
That's great advice. Yeah. No pressure, just make the appointment. And is there anything that you're looking forward to? I mean, I think it's really important with everything going on in our world right now that we focus on like things that maybe we can look forward to. How about in your industry or in your line of work? Are you excited about anything or?
I'm actually kind of excited to see how technology is going to become more vital to my practice because most states are the signing and execution of documents is pretty old school. I mean, it's sitting in a room with a pen signing, and I'm curious to see if some of that's going to adjust. Mm-hmm. Even in my practice, we have the requirement that we get 12 hours of continuing legal education. Mm. This year, that's allowed to be all virtual. That was not the case before. Mm. So I do see some things changing as far as how documents are executed. I'm curious because I think that this has shown that we have to be able to continue to take care of things, but being face-to-face is not to be assumed anymore.
Right.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how this impacts legislation. I know right now, I do handle estate administration, and in Chester County now they are probating wills, and it requires an appointment now. You make an appointment, you go down. So I'm sure administratively things are going to change.
Yeah. And maybe that'll make it you'll be more accessible too. Like maybe that'll break down some of these barriers about people getting started with things. If you're.
Because I don't know how many people since this has happened, they call, I send them drafts of the document. They don't even have to set up an appointment to come sign. I say, okay, well, I've got some information. I'm going to send you a draft, look over it, realize this is not a document that's scary or too convoluted to understand. Mm-hmm. And then when you're ready, if you don't want to get together now, then we'll sit on it. But you've had a chance to review it and realize it's something you can understand.
Right. Oh, I think that's awesome. So if people are watching and they want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
They can either call me. My phone number is 610-363-3700, or email me. My email is wmp@extonlaw.com. And that's not Exton Mall. Some people.
I never even thought of that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make sure I put those on here too when I edit the video so that they can use
Why do you have Exton Mall on?
And you're right next to the Exton Mall.
I am next to the Exton Mall. And Stan was always adamant that he was in areas where you could pull up, park, and walk in. Yeah. And that's one thing that my clients like when I tell them I'm not in Westchester because they're concerned about parking. I'm in a corporate center where you pull up. It's all on one level and is accessible to folks.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And anybody that's watching, again, if you want to get in contact, all the information will be on this screen, so feel free to reach out. All right. Everybody have a good day. Thank you.